Welcome back to another video. In this one, I'm not going to show you the best cars that you can rent out on Turo. I'm going to show you how to find the best cars to rent out on Turo. Uh, don't give a man fish, teach him how to fish. So that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. In the first step, this is really for whether you're getting started or whether you have a really big fleet. But this is really a basic strategy. This isn't something that is super complicated, which is nice because it's easy. But first thing you're going to look up is Turo Car, Turo Calculator, and essentially what this is it's going to show you roughly what cars can make, and this is just a baseline. Like don't follow all these numbers like it's a a game plan or anything. Just these are really rough. But essentially what you can do is you could put in like Phoenix, you could put in your budget range, which is, some people are buying cars under 10 grand, and it'll give you the top cars based on utilization, and that's based on the annual average return and estimated vehicle cost. But, all these numbers are pretty skewed because either people are buying them too high or they just don't know how to rent them and they're not making enough money. So I wouldn't, I would follow these numbers too closely. But what I do if I'm looking for a car is I'm going to go to my market. So we're in Phoenix, and I'm going to find a car that we're interested in. Right now, we're actually interested in an Audi Q7. Okay. So first number it's going to give you is the percentage of annualized ROI. And that one's not super important because that's based on what you could buy the vehicle for. But I know 58,000 is roughly what you get a brand new one for. And I know that I could buy one anywhere from 20 to 25,000 at an auction, 2016 plus, 50,000 miles and under. So to me, that's pretty good. I mean, I know that it's built by VW parts, so it's pretty mechanically sound. And I know that making 21,000 average is pretty good because it's close to a 10% rule, which is you want to see about 10% a month per car on average. Of course, the more expensive cars you do get, you're not hitting that exactly, but it's really good to follow. With cheap cars, you can 100% hit it. When we had all of our Fiestas and Focuses, it's super, super easy to hit that. Next time I look at, which we actually just bought, is a Tahoe. This one looks a little better. You're going to see 151% return. But then again, that's if you're buying a $49,000 truck. For us, we just bought one for $27,000. And looking at this annualized return of $25,000, that's pretty crazy because that's hitting about 10% a month, just under. But that's pretty good for buying a car that is that expensive. To see that kind of return is really, really good. But then, of course, there's more than just this to it. Like, this is the base. You look at this, you find a car that has really good return based on what you can buy it for. Then you go to the background knowledge. The next thing I'm going to do is look up 2017, which is the year we bought the Chevy Tahoe, Ford Tahoe 8. Okay. And I really like Car Edge. I think they do a really good job on their graphs and stuff. But I'm going to look and see that it's not too dramatic. Sometimes you'll get cars that are just like it's vertical, like top left to bottom right corner, straight down. But this one evens out pretty nicely, and the depreciation isn't super crazy. Another cool thing about looking at depreciational curves is you can determine the best times to buy and sell them. So, if you're buying them at 2 years and then selling them at 4 years, you're going to see the lowest amount of depreciation unless you're going for something older where you'd buy it at 8 years and then sell it at 10 years. So there's tons of reasons to look at this. Of course, knowing whether your car's going to depreciate a crazy amount when you sell it, which isn't good because you don't want to lose a ton of money at the back end. And then also determining your entry and exit point for when you purchase a vehicle. This is something that a lot of people don't look into, but I think it's a major mistake. A lot of people just go to a dealership, they'll find a car that they think could be good on Turo. They don't do any of this research. And then they don't look at depreciation, they don't look at maintenance, and it bites them in the butt. So I highly don't recommend that. The next thing I'm going to look at is 2017 Chevy Tahoe. And its schedule. No goods. The reason that I'm looking at this is I want to determine you can compare this to other vehicles and determine whether it's a really high cost for repair or if it's a lower cost. Obviously, the lower the better. I really like Car Edge. I think is really good for all these kind of reports. So I try to look at this usually. So looking at year 6, which is what we're on, we're looking at 895. To be break that down on a monthly amount, 895 divided by 12. You're looking about $75 a month. And then if you look at the next year, you're looking at 1236, so 1230, or 8 divided by 12. Looking at about $103 per month. And then, of course, it just increases from there. And then if you go further down on here, you could see like at what miles, what they're going to change, which is pretty cool. But this really just goes to show that, you find a car that you can get a certain price for, you can get a certain return for. Then you start doing the back end research, which is, okay, how quickly is it going to depreciate? How much is the maintenance cost? When is a good entry and exit point during the depreciational curves? And then the big question for us is this a car that people even want to buy? Is this a car that people are interested in? Chevy Tahoe, people absolutely love them, so we know that it's a good car. Another example would be just our Slingshot. That was our first car we bought, and it was a pain to sell. Nobody wants a 3-wheel car. I mean, the demographic for it is extremely slim. I'd say the highest demographic is probably people wanting to do Turo, but that alone is a very slim piece of the market. So moving forward, like we would never buy a car that has such a small market and such a small demand, because the time that it takes on the back end to sell it, you have to think about where that money could have been deployed. So if you have a car that is not doing well and it's really hard to sell, that money is being deployed in a place that you would want to have it, and having it stuck there for a longer period of time makes it more difficult. So definitely take that into consideration. I mean, selling like a Toyota is going to be a lot easier than selling a Slingshot, or selling a Tahoe is going to be a lot easier than selling a Slingshot. And there's a couple ways you can look at it. First is just looking at the rarity, so how many of them there are, but then understanding what most people want. Most people just don't want anything crazy. They just want something simple and cheap. And then from there, the more expensive you get, your demographic falls off a little bit, but of course you retain some people. But just do research on it. Make sure you don't get stuck in a car that people aren't going to buy. So that's kind of my tidbit. That's how you can determine whether you should buy a car or what car to buy when you're getting into the business, or maybe you're already in the business. And it's a good way to tell whether it's going to be a good investment for you for the business. So I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video.